Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Shadowland History. I am your host, Robbie, and today we are talking about Mission INFECT'S 2009 album, Asphyxiation.
I hear them talking when I'm sleeping in my bed at night. They tell me kill them, and I know everything's alright. I hear them talking when I'm sleeping in my bed at night. They tell me kill them, and I know everything's alright.
Now, so far on Shadowland History, we've talked to Low-Key a bunch. We've talked to BadLuck a good amount. Last episode, we talked to Saint Sinna, and this month, we are introducing a brand new character into this story named Malaria. Before we get into the story of Asphyxiation, the album, we must discuss how Malaria met the members of Mission INFECT and how he kinda snuck himself into the group with the help of BadLuck. Here are Low-Key, BadLuck, and Malaria to tell you the story.
I had met Malaria outside a show in Philly. I think maybe he was promoting, like he was handing out flyers or something. He had known about my music.
I had a friend, I think her name was Nicole. She was real into the underground scene, like the horrorcore scene. And there was a bunch of different CDs she gave me. And she actually gave me one of Local CDs, and I think it was Follow Me at the time.
And we got to chopping it up for a minute. Everything was cool.
After that, I was also at the Electric Factory, and then I saw Luck there. I had no idea that Loke and Luck were friends. I saw him handing out flyers, so I took one of his flyers, he took one of mine. And I remember hearing, like, the name Medulla, I remembered it.
I think we wound up doing a collab, which would be Find, Torture, and Kill.
It's time to break and take everything you love, even your life. I hear these demons scream every time I'm sleeping at night.
He paid me to do the collab. He came pick me up. We went and recorded it at the Rabbit Hole in Delaware with BadLuck.
And he stayed the night there, and like we hung out and partied that night.
And then that's when I started becoming more friends with Luck. It just kind of meshed.
And I think for me, that was it. I didn't get to know him like that. Like, it was kind of a business thing. But he wound up getting cool with BadLuck just on some like homie shit. I was completely separate of whatever friendship they had at this point. I just seen him around, basically. It's so funny because he kind of like forced his way in. At this point and to this day, you know, I've created the MI brand and kind of control how the releases come out and how everything's presented. He did the vault where he was just on there like rapping about Mission INFECT, and there's the MI logo on the cover.
BadLuck wanted me a Mission INFECT. Me and Loke really didn't have a relationship at that point, but obviously BadLuck and Loke were best friends.
And I started listening to his music, and I knew he had like potential, and I'm like, dude, he's pretty dope.
Okay, listen up, pipe down, and listen right now. Time body's flow growing up the White House. Listen, it might sound a little absurd. How the scary story's going when I tell you the tale now. I stab beside you through the side, choke your son, I homicide, stop the dog, and blew his mouth. Next to wife, I like the knife, the nice and knife, you get it right. Cut the legs, grab the knife, insert the shit inside her butt. Lick the tip, the shit is tight. I ain't scared the lady, yeah, scared to death, the newlywed.
I would try to sell him to Loke, basically. Like, yo, man, this dude's pretty dope. You should fucking check him out. And they're just like, I don't know, we have like a bunch of people already, blah, blah, blah.
So BadLuck told me that I got greenlit for Mission INFECT, so I just dropped the vault and I got Mission INFECT all over it.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Until I listened to it. And when I listened to it, I'm like, oh man, we're really gonna have to sign this guy. We gotta sign him because it was such a good record, you know. And Jay vouched for him at this point that it just became canon. Like he like wrote himself into the group somehow. Like, how the fuck did this happen?
So I kind of weaseled my way in, but I didn't know I was weaseling my way in.
But we wound up becoming super close with Malaria. Me, him, and BadLuck just became kind of like best friends at that point in real life. And, you know, obviously it evolved and manifested into our music.
Now, before Asphyxiation became Asphyxiation, it was originally intended to be released as two albums, Chemical Threats Phase 3 and Chemical Threats Phase 4. That's right, Asphyxiation was intended to be the direct follow-up to the first two Mission INFECT albums. Here are Low-Key, BadLuck, Saint Sinna, and Malaria to tell you all about the journey from Chemical Threats 3 and 4 to Asphyxiation, the album's darker tone, the creation of Mission INFECT classics like Stab You and The Truth, and the state of mind that led the members to make more of a dark horrorcore album than they had previously made under the Mission INFECT banner.
The Asphyxiation record was originally supposed to be Chemical Threats 3 and 4, and we had the whole Fire and Ice vibe going. It was going to be a double record, with one being more, I guess, darker horrorcore, and one being more party shit, just like the kind of the first Chemical Threats was. The album took a year, and when we started the record, there was a lot of people kind of around and writing. It was supposed to drop in April 2009 on 420, but it was pushed back until Halloween, and the two records were melded together into one.
It definitely brought in like a new era for us. I feel like that album, we brought something that was like lightning in a bottle. Like the whole feeling of that album is like nothing else is like it.
The lineup in the group changed because the lineup in the crew changed. And we really decided around this time to kind of focus on who was real, who was there, who was part of our crew, who was our friends. It was a big shift from being strictly about skill, and it kind of shifted to, you know, who's the most down loyal motherfuckers.
Asphyxiation was definitely more of a horrorcore album than the militant shit.
A lot of us associate that album with a darker tone. Even just the artwork is different. Like, it has zombies and grunge and blood and shit on it, and that was never like really like the MI vibe. But if you listen to it, it's all over the fucking place. I think why we associate it with having a darker tone is because the best songs on there are that vibe. It's me, Jay, Malaria, and Saint doing that vibe. And the rest of the songs, you just kind of forget them for the most part. You know, when I think of Asphyxiation, I think of Stab You.
You see these, they're for you. Man made to make blood pour through. I'm singing, you're reading. Talk tough, put down, you're screaming. All that shit that you try to talk is all lies. All lies. Watch you twitch every time I slip so you die.
Stab You on there definitely stands out. That's one of my favorite Infect songs. I love that beat. But the guy that made that beat, it's like this dude that was in a bunch of grimy stuff, but he opened the studio up in Philly on 19th and Schneider. So a bunch of people would come through. In that time, a band was coming through called Bloodhounds, and Meek Mills was in that band, and he used to come through that studio. And it was funny because when I walked into the studio, I saw a picture of the guy that owned the studio with Rick Ross. I'm like, what the fuck? How does that happen? But I didn't ask no questions because that wasn't a setting you ask questions in. But yeah, anyway, I ate Chinese food with Meek Mill.
My setup was like the literally most ghetto setup, I think. I had some shitty like $100 mic, and I didn't even have a microphone stand for it at the time, so I like fucking duct tape it to my vacuum cleaner. Did some of my verses with that. I didn't have a pop filter, so I created one with like some fucking pantyhose and a fucking some kind of ring thing I made. I did some of the verses on that. I can't remember what songs were recorded when what, but I just remember vacuum clean recording studio fucking mic thing. And then I made this box. It was like this fabric square box, and I filled it with foam. And I had my microphone. At the time, I finally got a microphone stand. It was a little tiny stand, and I put it in there. And then I have to put my fucking head in this box to record.
I never thought I'd see the day the hardcore became a trend. Seeing everybody bloodied up, my painted faces acting. Fake blood, check. Facebook, check. Contacts with the skills to match. Check. 20 people showing up to the venue, calling that a show, but you know that your friends did.
We did Horrorcore is Losing It, which was a whole song about how corny horrorcores got. Just about every rapper had the same fucking thing. It was like the contacts, the fake blood, the fucking raspy voice, the fucking. It was just like the formula for horrorcore. Maybe it was just us. Maybe we were in the game so long that we just kind of looked at everybody else like, here we go. Here's another one. Like the 7,000 demo CDs we got on tour, it's like, oh, here's another one. Sounds just like everyone else. Meanwhile, we're in the same realm, kind of doing the horrorcore thing too. But then there was also songs like The Truth on there that was like completely opposite.
You should feel guilty for trying to kill me. You never will say by the truth. A glass breaks in my hand from the stress. Pressure makes any man turn a mess. The flesh in my hand rips, dripping out the only thing that make me feel real. And it's fucked up where we live, and I'm not giving in. I stay solid and stand up to the point of demolish that follows me everywhere I go like a shadow. Those that try to kill me, you willingly taking gradual blows.
That was a whole different vibe, I feel like. I remember when we dropped it, people were like iffy on it because for a Mission Infect track, that was kind of a little bit out of the box with the rock kind of like instrumental and just the vibe of it. And the way Saint fucking came in on that track was like extra next level, dude. Like to this day, dude, that shit gives me goosebumps.
That song was crazy because I was just like getting real comfortable with my voice and shit. So I recorded the song, and I think originally the first part was like multiple layers together, and then Loke fucking chopped it all up and fucking moved it around, and then it became like part of the hook, and I was like, whoa, it like turned into something completely different than what I originally anticipated, and like in a good way, obviously.
The verses are really powerful verses. His shit comes from an honest place, and BadLuck on the hook on his like weird Linkin Park or whatever the fuck he was doing. Whatever it was good.
I want to say it was the last song we actually recorded. It was to a point where we basically were kind of like, fuck everything. And I remember telling Loke at one point, I was like, man, I think I need to just be done with this shit. I'm just going to drop out of it and just fucking take a break or just drop out or whatever. And he was convincing me basically, don't do that. And then I think it got to a point where he started having the same kind of feeling about, with all the bullshit going on, that he was kind of like, you know what, I think you're right. I think I should just fucking drop out of this shit too, and kind of just, like he says in his verse, like bow out gracefully, basically.
I got a plan, but you all lost faith in me, so I apologize, bow out gracefully, hang up my hat and it all tastefully, slip out the back, real life waits for me.
He explains more in that song on his verse about what was going on than I was. Mine was more pain, stress, and trying to feed my children type shit. His was more like, all right, this is pretty much it. I'm gonna hang up my hat and bow out.
I think maybe just parts of me were just bleeding into it, you know, and at this point in my life, I was just being more honest with my music. More of me was flowing out, and I think maybe it kind of bled into this record a little bit, where I started to really like put a lot into my music. I wasn't just rapping to rap, you know, I was really thinking like, where does this all land and what is the meaning and the purpose of what the fuck we're saying. I'm not saying every track on this record is some fucking deep shit, it's not, but this is where my head is at. You can just kind of see it if you go through the songs. It had a little bit more low-key vibe to it. It was a little more complex of a record, as where, you know, Chemical Threats 1 and 2 and Extermination was more kind of mixtape style and more kind of ciphery. This album felt more like an album. I think the horrorcore and the darker aspect, you gotta understand, like at this point, a lot of fake people were leaving, and like a lot of behind the scenes shit with internal issues with the group and internal issues with the crew. I feel like anytime you're gonna bring a bunch of people together like that for the wrong reasons, in a lot of cases, like you're gonna have these kind of issues of betrayals and just behind the scenes shit. So I think that's kind of what makes the album unique in a way, is you have that darker horrorcore vibe in the main people in the crew, us being pissed off, and then kind of this hip-hop vibe, you know, which still, you know, that fits more the Mission Infect style technically, but people don't remember those songs. They remember the dark, pissed off fucking horrorcore shit. When you think about Asphyxiation, that's what you think about. And honestly, it's because that's the most real shit on that record.
As they had the previous few years, the members of Mission Infect performed once again in 2009 at the Gathering of the Juggalos. Here are BadLuck and Malaria with a story about how the group almost got kicked out of the event altogether for performing a bit more than the organizers had originally intended.
When I go to gatherings, I always drink and do whatever I can to feel as good as I can, and a lot of times that turns me into a whole different animal. And for whatever reason, I don't know why this just became a thought in my head. One of the nights of the gathering, it was one of the smaller stages. Basically, they had security there blocking, you know, making sure nobody fucked with anything. So I went up to the guy. I was like, hey man, I was like, do you think if we can get you $100, you can maybe like walk away, maybe flip your shirt inside out and just kind of walk away and like let us just play some music? I was like, I DJ, so I know how to set this shit up, and if I get $100 for you, you think you could walk away? He was like, I'll do it. I was like, all right. So I started like yelling to all the people that we were with, like, yo, chip up $100, just do so, walk away, and we can take over this fucking thing. We conjured up $100. We gave it to him. He fucking took his shirt, turned it inside out, walked away. I powered up all the stuff, started playing music. Everything was great. There's a bunch of people started coming and partying. going, and it got to the point where I was like, all right, dude, that was too easy. I was like, let me see if I can do it to another stage. And there was a guy security there. And this time I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to raise the money. I had a band pass on. So I went up there with extreme confidence. I made it seem like I did not feel like doing this. It was early in the morning. It was like sun was coming up. And I was just like, hey, man, how's it going? I walked back there. I'm like, man, I was like, I got to fucking start setting this shit up. I was like, I don't fucking feel like it, man. It's too early for this shit. I don't know why people want loud music this early. And he was just like, oh. So I was like, yeah, I got the pass, man. See, I'm all good. I was like, I just really don't feel like fucking doing this. So they called me up and told me I have to start doing this early. He was like, yeah, no, if you need anything, let me know. And I was like, I'll be good, man. I was like, I'll be here for a while. So he's like, I guess you don't need me here. I'll be going. So he just walks away. So I start turning all that shit on. And we started playing in music. Fucking, it was just its own show was going on. Shaggy even was coming by on the golf cart, dropping people off. So I was like, all right, let's try the second stage, which was the one we played on. Let's see if I can take that one over. So I went over there, did the same thing, talked to the guy like, I got to get this stage going, man. They're bitching at me. It was just complete drunken confidence. And I was hammered too. That's the fucked up thing. I know I had some like alcohol. So he walks away. I take over that stage, turn everything on.
So I'm laying in the tent. And we had walkie-talkies. I hear BadLuck on the radio. He's like, everybody, get to second stage. Get to second stage now. So I'm like, all right, well, there's a fight. It sounded like it was urgent. So I fucking stumble out of there, still drunk. And I'm like, you know that in-between state where you're still fucked up, but you're coming down, so you're kind of sick too? I was in that state. So I'm running over to second stage, and this motherfucker's playing a concert.
And at this point, it's morning. It's bright morning. And it's the loudest stage, because second stage had way bigger speakers than the other ones.
So I get up there, and security comes up.
And one guy's like, hey, who's in charge of this? And then someone was like, he's in charge. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, yeah, there's supposed to be a sound ordinance till 10 a.m. Why is the music playing so loud? I'm like, I can turn it down. He's like, well, no, it's not even really supposed to be on right now. And I just made up a name. I'm like, well, George said that's what he wanted me to start it this early. I don't know. You got to talk to him.
But security's like, you're not supposed to be up here. He's like, yeah, ask Tom. Ask Tom if I'm supposed to be up here. Fucking, I don't want to be up here this early in the fucking morning. And he was acting like a worker. He's like, this is fucking bullshit.
So he radios, he's like, Jack, he's saying here that you're supposed to. I was like, and that guy right over there told me. And then he looked over, I just fucking ran. Me and Snoop, my older brother, we just started running. I mean, fucking, and they just knew.
I'm standing there minding my business. Next thing I know, security's like, you're getting kicked out. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm just here to see a show. Like, I played stupid.
So they started chasing us instantly. It's that kind of thing where you're like laughing and running at the same time. We were laughing so hard and running. People had their tents tied up into the ground and shit, and I'm running fucking fast as I can, and I trip over a tent and fucking roll, and then get up and just kept running. There was probably like 10 of them just all searching for us, and then me and my brother Snoop went inside this random tent to hide, and there was these two girls in there, and they were like painting each other's faces up, and we're like, hey, we're fucking running from security right now, can you help us out? I was like, can you paint our faces real quick? So they basically were like, fuck yeah, we'll fucking paint you up. So we had them both paint us up like Violent J and Shaggy. We had INFECT'S shirts on, I think, at the time. So we turned our shirts inside out and we just strolled out the fucking tent, right? Just like normal as shit.
Thank God Loke was there, because these security guys are like, yeah, he's getting kicked out. I'm like, dude, is there anything you can do? So in the process of them haggling me and trying to give me some bullshit and Loke trying to make a phone call, I see fucking BadLuck and his brother walk right past me with face paint on and their shirts inside out.
And I remember there was a circle of the security guards all talking about the situation, like saying they're looking for us, and we just walked right by them, just like fucking literally. And then Malaria's over there, he looks at me like, you fucking assholes. He's like, you almost got me kicked out, and you guys just fucking walked right by them, and we literally like were crying, laughing, like, dude, I can't believe he got away with that, and they don't have no idea.
Following the release of Asphyxiation, Mission Infect as a group would go away for nearly a decade. Here's Low-Key to tell you about his state of mind at the time and why Mission Infect had to go on a lengthy hiatus.
We did the album. A lot of behind the scenes kind of stuff happened at this point. Money got involved in a way that was not like healthy. We were still pretty young, man, and like didn't know how to act in situations like that, in business situations and to each other. I feel like a lot of mistakes were made at this point. A lot of people just kind of had their own opinion and their own kind of idea of what Mission Infect should be. There was definitely disagreements about what MI was, who should be in it, who should be in the crew, who should be allowed around. Like, I mean, there's a ton of emotions and just swirling around this album. couple that with, I was going through my own thing in life. Shortly after this record, I went on like a fucking hiatus, and honestly, I thought I was done at this point. I didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen, bro. I took a break from music in general until 2011. We did some shows, like we opened for Twisted and ICP in Philly on 2 separate shows, which was a big deal for us. Like, honestly, we grew up going to the Electric Factory and, you know, seeing ICP and Twisted at the Electric Factory. None of us have ever been kind of that, like, opening act kind of artists where we would, like, buy onto tours or buy onto shows or try to, like, do any of that. Like, we were never like that. We were really against it, honestly. But the venue and Psychopathic had reached out to us to do these shows, which was very special to us because it's these groups that you grew up listening to and looking up to, and this venue that you grew up going to. Since that was my first concert was at this venue, you know, at the Electric Factory in Philly. So to be able to play there was crazy. To be able to open for fucking, you know, people that we grew up listening to was crazy. And the shows were fucking lit, dude. Like, the shows were packed. It was super dope. We had a lot of love at those shows. And I guess technically, you know, it was the last shows that we would do as Mission Infect until years later when we did Chemical Threats 3 and 4 and we did UPStable and all that. When I came back in 2011, low-key kind of from this point became the central brand. From Shadowland on, that honestly like took up a lot of my time, which is a big reason why Mission Infect went on hiatus for so long. I was just doing my own thing. I was touring and I was slammed, bro. MI just kind of faded to the back for a while, and then Loki kind of came to the forefront and had its whole kind of renaissance.
For many years, Asphyxiation was something of a black sheep in the Mission Infect catalog. It strayed far from the militant hip-hop that Mission Infect had come to be known for. In recent years, with hindsight, Asphyxiation has become a fan favorite and a favorite among the artists that made it. Here are Loki, BadLuck, and Malaria to tell you their thoughts on the legacy of Asphyxiation.
That album doesn't get the flowers that it should get. I think when people talk about Mission Infect, they tend to talk about Chemical Threats 1, 2, 3, and 4. But to me, Asphyxiation was like the sleeper, dude. Like, that album is slept on.
Asphyxiation might be my favorite album personally. I just re-listened to it for the first time maybe a month ago. When you make an album, I break it down to every sound, every fucking thing. Like, I hear it as different waveforms and not as a single song. So after time goes by and I don't hear something for so long, I can actually appreciate it more by listening to it. So I listened to it last month for the first time in a long time. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this album's so fucking good. Like, this whole vibe from the beginning to the end. In my opinion, I think it's probably one of the best Infect albums ever put out.
To this day, that's probably my favorite MI album. Like, if you were to ask me right now, I'd probably say Asphyxiation. That's the best one for me.
It's just eternal. I know people still listen to it. When did that come out? 2009? We're 3 years off of 20, so we're 17 years and the record's still being played.
And ladies and gentlemen, that has been our show. Thank you for watching, and we will be back shortly to discuss the history of Low-Key's classic 2008 album, Chameleatic, next time on Shadowland History.